We
Going around in circles again. 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 Going around in circles. Cut me loose so I can contend. Hoping for something more than second place. First place some more. First place some more. First place Where will I be when I get to the end? Doesn't matter what place I began. 361 degrees and then I'm going around in circles again. 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 Going around in circles.
Throughout a frog's development, certain specific signs help us to recognize how stage changes grow and maturity.
It is coming down to 3 races, including today. Welcome to the 28th running of the VTuber Racing 2024 season. Today's event takes us to a very historic 2-mile superspeedway track known as Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The Brickyard 400 here today. 130 laps around this track, and it's going to be quite a doozy for these drivers. And this is coming down to the point in the series where drivers are getting eliminated from the championship. And we are getting to that point where the amount of drivers left to fight for the championship is dwindling down to less than 10 after today. It could be, depending on how today's race turns out. There's a lot left to be offered in terms of how many drivers can fight for the championship, but as the last couple races are going to go, there's going to be more and more drivers that are not going to be able to fight for the championship. Today, 5 drivers have a shot to come out of today's race at Indianapolis with the points lead. Heading into next week's race at Rockingham. Those are 5 drivers plus a couple extras that will be considered long shots, if not pretty much on the bubble of being eliminated from the championship. Melanie Bell has 843 total points for the championship. 12 behind is Aria, Aria is 12 points back, struggling to have any fight for the 69 car, but still 12 points back. Iron Mouse, who had a pretty solid day last week at Sonoma, they still sit 22 points back. They're going to need practically another miracle of a race here at Indianapolis today, and they start on the pole today, so that's a start, but they have to finish it. Iron Mouse still looking for their 4th win of the season, and if they can get it within these next 3 races, including today's, then they'll be in the best possible shot heading into Las Vegas with a championship battle. But they still sit 22 back heading into today's race. Overdrive sits 26 points back, and then Merriweather sits 29 points back. So a lot of opportunities for that third spot. And as well, if for some reason Bell or Starlight have themselves another day like last week at Sonoma, third, fourth, and fifth place in the standings could take away that championship lead. The same cannot be said for the drivers that are sixth on back. The gap between fifth to sixth place by itself is almost 40 points. Actually, it is well more than that, I should say. It is, I should say, 60. Little less than 60 points separates Merriweather and Noriboshi, which is more than a race. So Merriweather has a grip on that fifth spot at the moment. That's the worst he could be after today's race. Even if Merriweather has an awful race today, he's still going to sit fifth in the points coming into next week's race at Rockingham. Noriboshi sits 84 points behind in sixth place, but still has a shot to win the championship mathematically. However, they're going to need to have a strong run today and dwindle that points deficit down to less than 40 by the end of Rockingham. If they cannot get it to less than 40 points by the end of Rockingham, they're going to be eliminated from the championship hunt. Everybody from 5th on up has a shot to win the championship. Everybody from 6th on down has to have the race of their life here today at Indianapolis in order for them to stay relatively close to the championship battle. So right now, we can pretty much say that 6th on back is a long shot and a half for the championship. 5th on up, that is where the battle is at. I don't know what's gonna happen within these next couple weeks, but I do know that we will be focusing on 5 drivers for the rest of this season at the very least. And that goes from Bell, Starlight, Mouse, Overdrive, and Merriweather. Those 5 drivers are all going to be battling for the championship here these next 3 races. If, for some reason, Merriweather, Overdrive, and Iron Mouse end up not having a good day today at all, it could be down to 2 drivers heading into Rockingham, which we've seen in the past couple of races. That's how it's been practically this entire second half. Iron Mouse still has to get 10 points, which is 10 positions over Starlight by the end of today's race in order for them to be confidently inside that championship hunt going into Rockingham and Las Vegas within the next 2 weeks. Indianapolis is no stranger to some surprising upsets or some surprising moments, and today's probably not going to be any different considering what this entire season has been. In terms of racing, we've seen a lot so far this season, and I still feel like we have not seen it all. Last week's race ended up in a wild finish with drivers running out of fuel, and I mean many drivers running out of fuel, and Soleil ended up taking their first win of the season, and as they sit right now, they sit 8th in the points, but still 90 points back, tied with David for the championship. They are way out of the championship hunt coming into today's race, but a solid day here nonetheless will put them in contention to have a shot at the championship, but they are going to basically need to... They're basically going to have a hope and a prayer that Bell and Starlight, and hell, even Iron Mouse down to Merriweather, all 5 of those drivers inside the top 5, all 5 of them need to have a catastrophic day in order for anybody, not just Soleil, but anybody 6th on down to basically 13th in points to stay within this championship hunt. Because Noriboshi on down, they're back more than 2 races. And with 3 races left, that's the worst situation you can find yourself in when you're going for a championship. Now, there's also drivers that are going to be fighting for an automatic berth into the 2025 season next year. And like I said, that is 100 points behind the champion or lower. If you hit that mark, you will have an automatic berth to the championship. Right now, that sits with 13 drivers, Let me see where you guys are at. 11th place. So 11th place is Bimble. They sit 94 back. They are tied with Saiki Risu in the 12th spot and 99 points back behind the championship leader, and also 5 points back from Risu is the number 53 of Fifi. They sit 13th in the standings. The first driver who would not have an automatic berth into next season is Kyoso in the 47, who sits 102 points back behind the championship leader. So, at the end of this season, we're going to keep track of the drivers that are 100 points or less behind the champion, and those said drivers, like I said, will get a championship, or not championship, a season, a 2025 season ride. Qualifying for today's race goes as follows here. Like I said, F1 style, we're not going to really focus too much on it, unless there's some surprising like marks here, like we saw last week with Bell and Starlight starting in the rear of the field. They started a little bit better of a position here this week. As we scroll up here, we see that a lot of drivers from the back in their normal, typical spots, unfortunately. However, Bell starts in the 25th spot here today, so they, at Overdrive, 2 drivers inside the top 5, they are back in the 20s starting in today's race. Starlight sits in the 17th spot for the qualifying today, so a good qualifying effort by the 24 team. They still have a lot more to go, though. Entering the top 10, we have David starting in 10th place, Sprite starting in 9th, William starting in 8th, Merriweather starting in 7th, and Simu starting in 6th. Then inside the top 5, we have Noriboshi, Weebu, Risu, Soleil, and Iron Mouse. Those are your top 5, top 10 drivers in their starting lineup. Iron Mouse 3rd in the points coming into today's race on the pole. A good start for them. They are going to need to have a good finish here today in order for them to stay in the championship hunt. Same can be said with Soleil, although they are much farther back than Iron Mouse. And Risu, who I just talked about, sitting just outside the top 10 in points. The last driver to set a 49-second lap time. Everybody from Weebu on down set a 50-second lap time. So, championship contenders are all running up front with the exception of DJ Overdrive, Bell, and I guess Starlight, but Starlight's still in the top half of the field. So technically, they still start pretty decent. It could be worse, but it could be a whole lot better as well. But we've seen it a lot the last couple of months. Doesn't matter where you start, it's where you finish. Down to trackside here for the beginning of this race here. We'll see every driver lined up 2 by 2 in pit lane here. And we will get this race underway, like I said, 130 laps around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And the engines are fired and they are rolling off. So with that, I'll turn off the background music. And we will get ourselves set for today's running here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Like I said, 130 laps. This race might not go by so quickly. It'll be right in the middle of whether or not this will be a long race, maybe a short race. Kind of depends on if we get a ton of cautions or not. We haven't had that many cautions in the last couple of races. Hopefully I'm not jinxing it by saying this. But we have only had, I think, around 3 or 4 total, maybe 5 at the most, cautions in the last handful of races. And even last week at Sonoma, we could have had at most 2 cautions, but we only had 1. Whether that is a result of the shorter amount of laps within the last couple of races, or at some point these drivers have decided to start taking things a little bit less chaotic and more conservative until we get to the end of the race. However, as that may, Indianapolis does give itself an opportunity to have some accidents, so we'll keep an eye on that here. And I do expect some super speedway style racing like we've seen in the past. Probably a lot of lead changes in today's race is on the table for today. So like I said, it doesn't matter where you start, it's where you finish here in the VTuber Racing Series. We're going to see speeds that are going to rival the top speeds of the season. We're going to keep an eye on the top speeds here throughout today. Pace car is in 130 laps around the Brickyard. Will be underway as Iron Mouse leads him to the green flag. And what we're going to see is that bottom line where Iron Mouse and Risu are for the first 2 rows. And that's going to be the line to be. That's where you want to be throughout this entirety of this race. So we're going to have to see if that middle line, how well can that middle line defend in the corners. Iron Mouse is the first to jump up to the high side. This is given the opportunity for Risu to go to the bottom. I'm into turn 3. And they got Noriboshi and Merriweather right behind. 2 drivers that are inside the top 10 in points. And Merriweather, one of those drivers inside the top 5. Looking to keep their championship hopes more alive heading into next week's race at Rockingham. But it's going to be Risu who's going to lead the first lap of today's race. Risu's trying to get themselves an opportunity to race for the 2025 season. They're just inside that little margin. So it's going to have to come down to whether or not they can finish this season off. A nice couple of good finishes, couple top 10s. They don't need a lot if they're just trying to finish 100 back from the champion. They just need enough. And Iron Mouse hangs on to that second spot. A little bit of a spread out here between the top 2 to the 3rd place car. Williams creeped up inside the top 5 as well as illuminated the 52. Iron Mouse is going to get a run down this front stretch here. Not fast enough to cross the line in first place, but an opportunity to take the lead away going into turn 1. Side by side on the bottom. Goes to 22. Drifts up a little high, but able to make the pass happen. Now Risu is unfortunately going to lose another spot. And now it's going to be 1-2 for some championship contenders. Starlight's also in the background as well. They're creeping up inside the top 10. They clocked in 13th the last time by, and they're making a couple moves in the background. Now the backstretch, they are going to probably enter in the top 10. Ooh, if not 11th by the time they cross the line. Now Iron Mouse is going to lead, more than likely he's going to lead this lap unless Noriboshi gets a good run. I don't think so. It's going to be Iron Mouse who's going to get this lap in the book, so that's an extra point there for Iron Mouse. So in order for them to really maximize points here today, you lead the most laps, that's another bonus point, but in many cases that's harder said than done. That is harder said than done. So what Iron Mouse is going to try to do here today is at least lead a lap and at least finish inside the top 5, because that'll put them in a good opportunity to maybe even climb up to 2nd in the points. Maybe not the points lead itself, but an opportunity to take away that 2nd spot in the points and maybe give Bell a run for their money going into the last 2 races. Noriboshi's also going to try and do something a little bit more intense here, and that's try to get back into the top 5 in the points, because they sit 6th, but they are more than a race, more than 2 races back, so they need to have a perfect run in order for them to run for the championship. Like I said in the pre-race, though, it is just 5 drivers battling for the championship, and at this point, I don't think we're going to see anybody from 6th on back competing for the championship, even if they have a solid run here today and next week at Rockingham. Because they're going to need more than just a solid finish. They're going to need Starlight and Bell to both have catastrophic finishes. They may be able to get a top 5 in the points if Merriweather and Overdrive, or even Iron Mouse, if those 3, one of them, could have catastrophic finishes. But if that's not the case, well, then they're just going to have to settle for 6th on back and battle amongst themselves for that spot. Noriboshi does take the lead away. There's a little bit of groups forming up here. We got 2 right now in a pack, and then back to 3rd of Lumid, 4th of Lucky, and 5th of William, and then Melody back to 6th place, and then Risu falls back to 7th. Soleil climbed, well, I wouldn't say climbed, but they've fallen to outside, almost outside the top 10. They're going to be 3 wide with Weeboo in the middle. Actually, Weeboo did not get a good run off 4, so scratch that. But Iron Mouse is going to fall back to second and give a point for Noriboshi for leading a lap. Soleil is in 8th place, now that everything kind of settled out. Merryweather falls back to outside the top 10, and now here comes Kyoso, who definitely is going to be trying to race their way into the 2025 season, because they sit 2 points back. Doggy sitting at 14th, and Starlight actually kind of falls back a couple spots, but still better than where the points leader's at right now, sitting in the 21st spot. Iron Mouse has taken the race lead back as Noriboshi is kind of slowed up a little bit. Has lost a handful of spots, falls back to 4th place. Entirely, I guess when you do miss a quarter, you're going to lose a lot of momentum. So, probably missed that there. But Iron Mouse takes the race lead back and Lumen up to 2nd. Noriboshi falls back to the 5th spot. Probably going to lose that spot to Melody. When you screw up a corner, you're going to lose a lot more than just momentum for the next turn. You're going to lose it for the next 2, maybe 3 turns. So you better prepare yourself for track position being lost. Lumen's going for the race lead side by side into turns 3 and 4. And that bottom line is going to be the most dominant line you'll ever see, because it'll be hard for these drivers to make a move happen on that high side. You could probably beat a little defensive off of turn 4. And maybe off into the backstretch. But once you get back into turn 1, that's where you're going to need to start hoping you can get a lane down on the bottom. It's going to be Lumen and Lucky that are going to be 1-2 coming down the backstretch here. There's still a little bit of tight battling here as they get single-filed out through a majority of the field. Iron Mouse trying to look back to the inside, but can't make it work. Can't get the run down into 3. And Williams tried to make a move into 4 on Iron Mouse. That didn't work either, but they stay single file mostly for this front pack here. Let's see if Iron Mouse had a good run off 4. Going to look to the inside. As long as they could get underneath Lucky and make them use up that outside line. They almost did, but didn't make it work all the way. Well, they made it work that time. They'll be side by side for second there. It's all going to have to come down to whether or not a driver inside the top 5 in points can win the win the race. Not a championship, but win the race. In the last couple of races, we've seen a lot of drivers that are not even inside the top 10 in points, at least when they came into the event. They're the ones winning the races instead of the ones that should be winning because they're up in the championship hunt. Now, the championship leader, I should mention this for... Let's talk about this for a little bit. Bell, I don't know what exactly has been going on with the number 69 car themselves. But these last couple of races have shown that they are not necessarily championship contender, because they have struggled in their finishing positions. They've allowed 5, I should say 5, but it's realistically 3, because it's always been a 2-horse race for the championship. Bell was able to make it a 2-horse race for the championship late in the season after Starlight had a couple of bad runs themselves. But now that Bell has gotten the championship lead back, they've done everything in their power to make it as entertaining as it humanly can be for a championship race for Las Vegas. Bell should be necessarily either running away with it or having the dogfight with Starlight and just having a like I mentioned, 2-horse race for the championship. But them and Starlight have both been struggling the last couple of weeks. And I don't know if they're being content with running as far back as they can because they don't necessarily want to be involved in anything, which is a fair assumption. Again, a catastrophic finish will put an end to the championship for either Bell or Starlight at this point. But the question still remains is, well, if you're going to have a bad finish Why have a bad finish because you're just running bad? Bell was not necessarily involved in anything last week at Sonoma. Still finished just outside the top 20 because of all the drivers that were dealing with fuel issues on the last 2 laps. But the fact still remains that Bell has been having a struggle these last couple of weeks, especially on the dirt course at Springfield, Illinois, and then Sonoma last week. And now looking at where they're at right now here at Indy, it is 13 laps into a 130 lap race. We've seen it before with Starlight. They have started poorly, but they finish better than they started. And that's just how this series is. But Indianapolis is a track where it's going to be difficult to make up these spots on a green flag run. They're going to need to have cautions, and they're going to need to have a lot of them. But again, that's how the leader of the championship is running. But as we come into today, they are separated by 12 points to the 24 of Starlight, who currently is running in just outside the top 10. If Starlight can get back their points lead after the end of today's race, it's not going to be by much. It'll be by single digits, maybe double if Starlight were to finish inside the top 10, where Bell would finish outside the top 20. But the thing about that still is that it's still going to be a 2-horse race going into Rockingham, and then at that point, we'll have to figure out how many cars are battling for the championship. If anybody is 40 points or more by the end of Rockingham, they are officially eliminated mathematically from the championship. If they're about 35 to 30, I would say 30 to 39 back from the champion, they can still win it, but they're going to need a lot more than luck in order for them to win that championship. So, the best place, at least points-wise, of a deficit that you want to be going into Las Vegas is around 15 to 20. That's, I mean, at best you would like it single digits, yes, but if you had to try your best to lower that deficit for the championship, you really would like it to be no more than 20. No more than 20 points. That'll give you a comfortable chance for the championship, because then you would have to hope that Bell would just have to have something wrong go their way. Starlight's looking for an opportunity here to at least hang on to a single-digit deficit between them and Bell for the championship. And if they finish the way that they are right now, that is going to be how that is going to be. In fact, Starlight would actually be ahead of Bell by single digits, which would be even better if you are a fan of the 24 team for their chances of being in the championship. But right now, that's the top 2, and I think it's going to come down to just these 2, unless Iron Mouse can have themselves a solid finish here today, currently fighting inside the top 5, and if they can stay where they're at, they may not gain a lot on Starlight necessarily, but they'll gain a lot more to Bell. So it would be between Iron Mouse and Starlight for the championship heading into Las Vegas in 2 weeks' time. That being said, though, same situation as last week could take place. Iron Mouse could have a good start, but they didn't finish as well as they should have. They still finished in the top 10, but they had a chance to win it all at Sonoma and get their 4th win of the season. I'm telling you this right now. If Iron Mouse can get their 4th win of the season, they are practically the champion. The way that the point system works, it would be a jump for the 22 car in the championship. They sit about 20 to 25 points back as of this moment. And with how the championship is going to be determined, I think it's going to be a fight for Iron Mouse in these next 2 weeks. This and next week. Iron Mouse may not be in the best situation, and I don't think they will be in the best situation unless they outperform expectations here today at Indianapolis. And they're doing fine. 19 laps into this race, they've been up front all 19 laps. Might not be the lead, but they do have that bonus point for leading a lap, so that's going for them already. If Starlight and Bell do not lead a lap, they are in a much better spot than a ton of these other drivers. Don't get me wrong. The field is starting to spread out here between the top 3 to the rest of the field, so that's really what Iron Mouse likes to see. Just an opportunity for them to gain some points here. A second place is not bad. They would like a win, no doubt, but a second place, a top 5, is not bad at all. So we're going to keep an eye on Iron Mouse, but we're also going to keep our eyes on the two other drivers inside the top 5 that are also in the same situation as Iron Mouse, and that's Overdrive in the 12 and Merriweather in the 16, just ahead of the 12. They're battling right now for the 10th spot. Just behind them is both Starlight and Bow, so those two, again, a little bit more than a car length back, but not too far behind. Merriweather and Overdrive are looking for the exact same... they're the exact same situation as Iron Mouse. They would love nothing more than a solid top 5 today, and maybe even Starlight to finish outside the top 20. Same could be said with Bell. That would put them in the best spot possible for Rockingham next week. They don't have to have a good race today. That's not required. It is optional. Next week is when it'll be required for them to at least have a 30 or less deficit to the championship leader, whoever that may be. Now, another thing that we're going to be looking at, like I said, in the championship heading into Las Vegas, is that battle for the 2025 rides, I guess I'll call it. I don't know what exactly to call it. But if anybody gets 100 points or less from the champion at the end of Las Vegas, they will automatically get a ride for the next season. They don't have to worry about getting, they don't have to worry about signing up. They don't have to worry about that at all. They just have to watch next season comfortably. Now, obviously, the way that things are going, the top 5, yeah, they're going to be in no matter what. I mean, at this point, I mean, literally at this point, the top 5 in the points. We're talking Bell, Starlight, Iron Mouse, DJ Overdrive, and Merriweather. Top 5 in points. They're practically confirmed for next season. I don't think there's any real way they're going to... unless one of them finishes dead last 3 races in a row, they aren't going to be able to lose that many points in order for them to not have a ride next season. And with how things may go, we'll see more and more drivers confirmed for a ride next season as well. Once we get out of Rockingham, I should say. Rockingham's going to be a hell of a race to watch because that's going to determine how many drivers are going to fight for the championship. It could be locked up within that race. It could be locked up. There is that chance. Now, I'm not saying it depends on how many points separate the top 2 for next week's race, obviously. But it could be, depending on how Bell does in that race, assuming they're the championship leader. If they are, then we'll go for that. But Starlight, if Starlight takes away the championship lead today, that'll be a harder task. It's more realistic that Bell could lock up the championship after Rockingham than it is for Starlight. But I digress. Bell could lock up the championship after Rockingham next week. I don't want to say theoretically he could do it this week. That's not really possible by any means mathematically. It's just going to have to be at Rockingham where they're going to have to lock it up. But they are definitely going to need to be up front by the end of that race. And Starlight having to be at the opposite end by race end. So that's where things sit in terms of the championship. I am not going to be able to definitively give off who is where as of this moment, because so much can change within a couple laps' time. It would be hard to immediately be all like, yes, they're ahead of this person by this many points. But do keep in mind that battle for third in the championship between Iron Mouse, Overdrive, and Merryweather, that's only like 8 points between the three of them. That's a dogfight for that third spot in the championship standings. That's a dogfight. It's going to be nuts. And while Merryweather, I said Merryweather earlier, but Overdrive and Iron Mouse, they could fall to 5th in the points today, and that's all they're going to fall. They can't fall to 6th. They might if they have the same stuff, if they, have a terrible race at Rockingham, maybe. But, point still stands. If anybody inside the top 5 has a bad race today, the worst they could fall back to is 5th in the standings. And they will have a long shot chance for the championship afterwards. So again, it just comes down to, we got a caution on the speedway, and it looks like, well, Didi has some severe damage, so it looks like they're involved in this one. Let's look. Let's look and see what happened here. Looks like this happened back in turn 1. Yeah, oh my god, turn 1. I haven't paid attention to the caution lights here, but back in 29th, yeah, back in the 30th position, we had Fu, who we saw last week, run out of gas on the last lap. They just get into it with Kobo. Oh, man. Just get into it with Kobo and Didi, and oof. And Fifi and Villian both get into it as well. Although not much damage to those two. Kobo with a lot of damage there. I think Kobo, we'll get one more look at it here. Kobo took it down to the inside 3 wide. And then just slid. Oh, well, I don't know. They did slide up, but Didi in the 87 and Fu already were making contact. I think it was a combination of both of those things together. Wow. Yeah, it has not been a good 2 weeks for Fu in the 17 whatsoever. They almost won the race at Sonoma last week, but ran out of fuel at the last 2 corners. And they ended up I think they still ended up with a top 10 finish, if I remember correctly. But yeah, they definitely were right on the cusp of a victory. And now this little incident here on lap 25, lap 26, something around that, they are not in any good shape here early on. But, yeah, and 2 other drivers too, Kobo and Didi, those 2 involved. Can't really talk much about them at all because they are way back in the points and all that. Just not something worth mentioning whatsoever, to be honest. While we are under caution, I am going to scoop this over. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about points. We are going to keep an eye and see if anybody pits this time. I doubt it, but we'll see. Let's take a look here. Fu still gained 6 spots after the finish last week at Sonoma, but they still sit 19 in 19th place. And they still have a shot to maybe get an opportunity for next season for their ride, because they only sit 19 points back from that 100-point mark. But unfortunately, they also have to realize they're not going to gain points unless they get ahead of Bell. So everybody's target right now is going to be whoever the championship leader is heading into the races, which right now is Bell. So right now, Bell is enemy number 1 for a lot of these drivers that are looking for a shot for a ride next season. Doesn't look like anybody's coming into the pits. Nobody inside the top 20 or even, I guess, top 30 either. So, majority of the field will stay out. Looks like the drivers that were in the very back anyways, and or damaged, they're going to come into the pits. So, there's that. So, let's quickly go through the running order here. One to go. So, we'll have Melody restarting up front ahead of, well, not up front ahead, but to the outside will be Noriboshi. If it's an odd number, they'll be on the bottom, even number on the high side. Keep in mind. Lumen will restart in third. Iron Mouse will start in fourth place. Kyoso climbs up to fifth. Good run for them so far. Sixth place is Doki Bird. Soleil staying up inside the top 10. Seventh place for them at the moment. Eighth place is Weeboon. Bao in ninth. And Merryweather, a championship contender, in 10th. DM in 11th. 12 Car in 12th place. Callie in 13th. Starlight in 14th. 15th is Bimble, I think. Yeah, I definitely missed something here. 16th is Lucky. 17th is Simu. And Bell is actually creeped up inside the top 20 at the moment. And I'll just go through the field here because scoring's a little messed up and it's a little confusing to go from there. Yeah. Doesn't look like anybody retired from that wreck. No, nobody retired from the wreck. So all 37 cars are still on the track as of this moment. So double them back up and we'll get back racing here on lap 28. Things are going to get very interesting here on this restart here. Normally with a single file restart, things would be a lot more calmer as things go on throughout the race, and you might see some double file action a couple laps afterwards depending on the aggression meter, but this time the aggression meter, even if it's at its lowest, you're still going to see a lot of action because of them being double file throughout the rest of the field. So Melody on the inside, Noriboshi on the high side, two championship contenders, or at least one of them a championship contender on the high side, another one being a long shot who starts on the front row. Green flags back in the air, and Melody with a horrible restart allows Noriboshi to get a jump ahead. And that's the thing about Indianapolis. If you don't get a good restart, you can't allow that high side to get a good run. Keep an eye on the field here as best as we can, but they are double file from fourth on back. Melody's going to look back for the race lead, down into turn 3. Ooh, Kyoso with a big slide from middle to top groove there. Melody, although not being able to get the lead on the restart, is able to take it back real quick, and they'll lead lap 29. Yeah, something like I said, that a lot of things that have been going on with the races the last couple weeks is that we've had a lot of not championship contenders winning races, which does wonders for the championship points. That's kind of why Bell and Starlight have been able to keep it amongst themselves in the top 2 in the standings. If Iron Mouse could have maybe 4 or 5 wins on the season, man, things would be so much different. Same can be said with Merryweather and Overdrive. If everybody's at the top 5, maybe spread out like a couple extra wins amongst themselves, we could be talking about the top 5 being separated by only 15 points. Maybe less, to be honest. Realistically, you're looking at maybe 10 to 15, but yeah. Very tight. Everybody's getting close together. We're talking very tradey nose to tail. It is tight throughout this first pack here. It's mostly single file, but it definitely has that super speedway feel with how tight it feels at times. I said it was mostly single file. They immediately go 3 rows of 2. So I just immediately ate my words as a commentator right there. Overdrive's climbing up inside the top 5. About to actually pass Nori. I was going to say about to pass Iron Mouse, but that's not to be at the moment. Mouse had a good run off that high groove there. And turn 4 is a good opportunity for that high groove to be a good spot to be in. As you get that draft down that front stretch, and you can make up some positions. But you have to get back on that inside because turns 1 and 2 is very much not the place to be for the outside line. Turns 3 and 4, maybe, but in turns 1 and 2, not so much. Everybody inside the top 3 out of championship contention. Kyoso trying to become a driver to be in the 2025 season automatically. We could have as much as 15 to 20 cars automatically locked into a 2025 season ride. Or we could have about 10, depending on how well Bell and Starlight decide to put on a 3-race stretch in terms of a finish. Right now, Starlight sits at 15th. Bell still struggling, sitting 30th at the moment, but I don't know if they're holding back or if they just really aren't that good this week. I mean, they held back for most of Sonoma all last week, and they were able to get a near top 20 finish after all was said and done. So you never know. Right now, Overdrive and Noriboshi. Actually, Noriboshi and Overdrive in position order. They sit 4th and 5th. Those two are championship contenders, albeit Noriboshi a long shot. Soleil is also a championship long shot here. They got that win last week at Sonoma, which definitely helped them. The first win of the season. Boosted them up almost 10 spots in the points. Unfortunately, that's as much as you're going to get. Especially knowing that that gap to 5th place is more, I should say, than a whole race. Hey, Fluffy, hope you're doing well. Noriboshi falls back again several spots after a not-so-good exit. Well, hangs on to a 7th spot at the moment. So far, it's been a pretty dominant run so far for the 36 team. Even though they lost the lead once the restart occurred, they got it back before you know it, and they've held on to the lead ever since. Now, the aggression hasn't been picked up as much as I figured it would, which is kind of surprising in a way, but then again, we are only 35 laps into this run. We still have a little less than 100 to go, but not much more than 90 at the same time. It's still a long race to go, so we'll have to keep an eye on where the championship contenders run once we get out of the long-awaited pit stops. Battle for second between Callie and Lumen. Soleil's climbed up to the 4th spot at the moment. I brought this point up last week, and I'll bring it up to here again with Soleil. Several times if they came up that close to winning a race. And last week was their first of the season, which admittedly is a good feat. I mean, you want to be one of those drivers that wins this season, even if it is the last race of the season. But heartbreakingly, comes up maybe a little too late for this team here. They just don't sit well in the points for a championship shot. They are a long shot, and I say long shot because they're going to need basically everybody in the top 5, and I mean everybody top 5 in points, to just get themselves involved in wrecks and just destroy themselves piece by piece. On top of that, they also have to win and dominate the race as well. So, again, everybody from 6th on back is about 90 points back. Basically mathematically eliminated. Not exactly at the moment, but I just, at this point, might as well just say that anybody 6th on back in points, they might get a top 5 at best for the championship. They ain't gonna get a top 3. Again, unless catastrophic misfortunes fall on the 69 and the 24 teams. And while it is a dogfight for 6th on back in the points, as well as 5th on up, the thing about it is that 5th on up is going to be battling for the championship today, whereas the rest, they're going to have to be wondering what could have been had they just had one solid finish or an extra win here or there. But a lot of those drivers probably aren't thinking about that. They're probably thinking about they want to stay 100 or less from the champion in terms of points so they can race for the championship next year with no worries. And by the way, for those that are 28 races into this season without knowing how the points format works, I've practically talked about it every time I've brought up the points, but I'll say it again. Each position exactly is worth 1 point. Leading a lap, an extra point. Winning a race will get you 3 bonus points on top of all of that. Simple as that. It's 40 points separate, I guess a little... No, it is 40 points exactly. That separates first place to last place in this series. Technically speaking. Because it's 47 for first place, and then 7 for last place. Assuming that, again, last place isn't also a driver that led a lap. I saw Fillion in the pits, and I'm not too sure if that was a scheduled green flag stop, which I doubt because they came in when they got involved in that wreck. About 15-20 laps ago, so I assume that they just had to come back down and service themselves for more repairs or whatever. Got a championship contender battling for a spot there between Kilso and Overdrive, and nobody's pitting this time, so I guess it was just Philly and coming down to get some extra repairs done. They will be able to short pit everybody, but I don't think they'll be able to stay in contention when they short pit. Just saying. They might be able to jump a few positions, but they're also going to get jumped for a lot of positions, depending on when these drivers plan on pitting. Now, from what I can gather, this week may be a little bit more peaceful when it comes to fuel strategy. Like I said last week, we had many drivers, and I mean many drivers, run out of fuel with 1 or 2 laps left in the race. And even the winner of the race, Sole, ended up running out of fuel half a lap after the checkered flag, so they saved enough fuel to get it to the end. So I doubt that that's going to be a problem this week. Because Sonoma is a bigger race course, and it is a little trickier to calculate fuel. And let's be honest, these strategists here at this track and for these teams, they aren't the most experienced when it comes to big race tracks. And a lot of them are getting put to the test here, even though it's almost 30 races into the season. There's a big chunk of gaps here. Oh, we got drivers pitting, that's why. I was going to say, there are drivers all over the racetrack here, but yeah, they're pitting. They spread the field out a lot because of a big old checkup. Several drivers from the top of the board coming in. Overdrive led a lap, so that's a bonus point for the 12 team, which is going to be very useful for them for the championship. Actually bring it back to the 12 exactly. Yeah, right now it's just the top 5 separated by a ton of, like 4 seconds separates the top 5 to 6th place, so that accordion effect, or that checkup, I guess, that really put a hamper on the field. Let's see. Looks like everybody in the top 5's coming in. Mostly everybody behind. Williams the first out. Henya, Fifi, Kobo. Hey, the drivers that got involved in that wreck, with the exception of William. Now, that is smart strategy in a way. But again, they're going to stay out longer because, well, they're going to stay out longer because they pitted 20 laps after everybody else because of when they got involved in the wreck. But they are going to be slower, significantly slower than everybody else. So, William is just one that's running a little bit longer than everybody else. Overdrive's the first to come off pit lane from that group. Kyoso. Keep an eye on this pack here. See where they end up at. Overdrive, I think, is going to get the upper hand here. And he will. And not by much. Kyoso's hard charging on the high. Actually, no, it's going to be Kyoso. Kyoso's going to get up to speed a lot quicker. They will run side by side. This technically isn't for the lead, but it might as well be because, like I said, yeah. Kobo, Fifi, Fu, they're going to be running a little bit longer than everybody else, but they are technically trapping a lot of these cars one lap down. Kyoso's going to be the first one. I believe it will be Kyoso unless... yeah. So technically Kyoso's going to be the race leader right now. Because everybody from first to fourth, first to fifth, and sixth, I guess, at the time, they still have to pit. They're going to pit later than everybody. But yeah, if they got about 40 to 45 on these, we got a handful of stops to work with today. This has shooken up the field dramatically, by the way, as well. These pit stops, they really change things a lot. 25 cars at the moment on the lead lap. Everybody from 26th on down to 37th. One lap down. Nobody has officially retired from the event. And technically, those drivers that are one lap down, they aren't actually one lap down. Because again, the top 4 still have to pit. Because all 4 of them were involved in that first wreck. But they're staying out because they don't have to pit. But they are holding up the field because they are in the middle of traffic. So there's the top 4. There's 5th, 6th place, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th place. And then on back. Iron Mouse fell back dramatically. It's back, I would say, let's see, they're 20th right now. So yeah, outside the top 15. They fell outside the top 15. But it could be worse. Both Starlight and Bell right now run 33rd and 34th. Just what would be... oh, we got a wreck! Oh, Henya in the wall with DM! Right in front of the championship leaders who both managed to get by it, but barely. Good lord, they barely got through that. What in the world? And that just happened as Fu was coming into the pits, too. I think, oh, that might be why? No. Tyroki with a head of steam. Oh, my God. Tyroki sent it down into 1. To the bottom, slides up the racetrack, and then they just dominoes effect right into both the 30 and the 37. Fifi again involved in the wreck. Now watch how close. Oh my goodness! Wow, that could have been... Wow, that could have been big. I mean, championship levels of big right there. If Starlight or Bell got involved in that, we could be talking a whole different ball game for the championship. Good avoidance, to say the least. Good avoidance by both the 24 and the 69. Well, that is our second caution of today. And it comes at lap 50. That does mean that Fifi and Didi are going to enter in the pits. And they'll have probably, I think they'll have the best advantage out of everybody now because, I mean, even though even though they've all been involved in wrecks, they will pit and will have the better strategy moving forward. They might actually be faster than everybody else, depending on if they're not severely damaged by any means. So we'll have to keep an eye on both Fifi. Maybe we'll keep an eye on Didi. But watch out for Fu and Kobo because I don't know how much damage those two have. And they're going to be one of only a handful of drivers to come in. At least up front. That means the rest of the field that is technically a lap down, they're going to come and get the wave around. We'll get everything sorted out here momentarily. Yeah, Didi has a lot of damage, and so does Henya. I am not too sure how quick or slow they're going to be, but it could be worse. They could be retiring from the race, but I don't think they will. Kyoso is going to be the race leader, and everything gets sorted out. So we will wait one more lap before going over everything. That does mean that I believe everybody should be on the lead lap. I think everybody should be on the lead lap. I'd be amazed if anybody isn't. We'll have to look here next time by again, because... Let's see. At the moment, it just says Henya and DM, the two drivers involved in the wreck, they're a lap down, which I don't even think that's true. Maybe it is. I'm not too sure. We'll have to see. Kyoso, Doki Bird, Overdrive, Noriboshi, and Lumen the top 5. Bao, Soleil, David, Melody, and Weebu, that'll be the top 10. Callie in 11th, Lumi in 12th, 13th goes to Nana, 14th goes to Gura, and Fu, who just, and I mean just, entered the pits when the caution came out, is actually going to come out in 17th spot. So I will say watch out for them because they are going to be the fastest car on track if the tire wear is that prevalent. But again, we'll keep an eye on him. He's definitely going to be a contender if the tire wear is a factor. They just entered the pits when the caution came out. So that's why they were able to keep their track position with the fresh tires. All things considered. And I do believe they're 16th, if not 17th, but I think they should be in 16th place. 15th, okay. 16th is Kason, 17th is Iron Mouse, Kobo, and 18th. Another driver that just eked out a pit stop there at the end, just before the caution came out. Fillion in 19th, Merriweather in 20th, Didi in 21st, Lucky 22nd, Fifi 23rd, Mizuki 24th, Bimble 25th, and it's a stack up back here as they're trying to get it all sorted out. And that does include both Bell and Starlight. But I think it's because they're sorting it out because they're trying to get some drivers to go to the back of the field. That's how we run so far. When we get restarted, it'll be 53, actually 52 complete. So then it'll be on lap 53. So we're getting closer to that halfway mark, but we still have a little bit of ways to go. Right now, the person with the best hopes for the championship is sitting in the 3rd spot at the moment. Now, on that last restart, we saw the inside line not get the jump that they needed to convert themselves into a solid turn 1. We'll have to keep an eye on Kyoso here to make sure that they can enter, or at least get off the restart zone with a solid jump. Pace car is in, where you await the green flag here on lap 53. Much better jump there for the inside line, with the exception of DJ, who just couldn't get it going. But they'll be dead even going into turn 1. Good run by Kyoso on that inside line. He's going to clear. A little bit of chaos once again here through the front of this field. Overdrive looking down to that inside. I don't know if... Yeah, he has already led a lap, so he has a bonus point already. That's good news for the 12. They could finish and even dominate. That'd be even better. He had a good turn 4 right there. He had a solid one. He's going to be able to pull to a little bit of a gap across the line. They still run side by side behind. Soleil now to second. Although not for long, because here comes Weebu and Melody to try and take away that position. Now put the 11 car to second place. There's Fu, by the way, not too far in the background. Again, they came in just as the caution was coming out. So they are on the freshest tires compared to everybody else who has already run maybe like 10, maybe less laps on them. It was not a long green flag run from that from the end of the first cycle to the caution. So it was not a long one. But we'll have to see how things shake up. Right now, most drivers setting 49 point somethings. Fu, little 49.3, although mired in traffic and trying to gain the spots up as quick as he can. He is faster than some drivers. But again, I think the reason why his lap times aren't as significantly quicker is because he's around traffic. If he could get out of traffic, that's where we'll see the actual speed pick up. Keep that 17 in traffic. That's probably your best bet. Weebu has the race lead. Melody once again looking for the lead now. They've been dominant so far in this first part of the race, but we've seen a lot of dominant drivers lose it in the second half of the race, so we'll have to just see how things shake up here. Soleil back to third. Overdrive trying to hang on to fourth, but Bao is going to hang on. 49.4 for Fu, again on the fresher tires. 49.7s and 49.8s for some drivers. Not all, but some. There might be a slight advantage for the 17 at the moment. Battle for second between 4 different drivers as Weebu has pulled out a little bit of a gap. Melody's going to hang on to that second spot. Shot the nose off the 420, just not at the same time, not able to hang on to that inside line. And Solei's going to slingshot right by. Ninth place for the 17 car. I'm keeping an eye on him. He's got a fast car. Despite getting involved in the first wreck. Got the car repaired a little bit. Got some fresh tires. I think that's the difference maker between Fu being in the back and Fu being up front. 17 does have the fresh tires. He just has to make sure they don't race him off. Championship update. The 24 Starlight hanging on to a 30th place run at the moment. Just ahead of them is Iron Mouse and Bell, and just behind them is Merriweather. There is some side damage on the 24. Not too significant, but noticeable. The only driver inside the top 5 in the points that's inside the top 10 is the 12 of DJ Overdrive. The rest of the top 5 sits mired back in the 20s and 30s. If that stays the way that it is, then the long shots are going to have a hell of a run for the championship heading into Rockingham. But again, not halfway through this race yet, so we're about a little less than 10 away. Lap 65 is going to be the halfway mark. Lumi's now battling for this top 3 right now. Yeah, there's Fu right there, gained up to 7th. Oh my god. Oh, never mind. I saw 48.8 and I was like, oh my god, he's running quicker than No, it's just these drivers are running quicker now. The speeds have dwindled down after the restart, after the tires have gotten warmed up now. And everybody started clearing the single file. It's gotten a little quicker. Little quicker pace for some of the front runners. 48.6s, 48.7s, 48.4s for practically everybody inside the top 10. Spreads out a little bit more to the 49 regions once you get back. Yeah, 2 drivers a lap down, and that being the 2 drivers that were involved in the last wreck, which was DM and Henya. If Soleil could go 2 in a row, which is not something we've seen that often, it has happened before. But if they could go 2 in a row, that would put them in a position for a championship. Again, would still technically be a long shot heading into Rockingham, but if things were to be the way that they are right now at the finish, Soleil would probably be in the best spot possible for a late run for the championship. Considering the only driver inside the top 5 in points is DJ, and they sit 6th right now. And actually, they're probably going to lose 6th place, as Fu is just right behind them, about to make a pass. He's not looking right now. I thought he was. Slowly look to the inside of Weebu for that first spot. Couldn't get it done there. Now Lumi's going to look to their inside. Soleil might have a run. They're not going to be able to clear going into turn 1. Now they're going to lose 2nd, maybe even 3rd. Ooh my, that was close. Soleil almost got into it with DJ there. I don't know if DJ realized they were going to catch that 420 machine so quickly. That was close. This would be for the 5th spot. Actually, 4th. Right around that 200 mile an hour mark is where we are running right now. These drivers are running just under that 200 mile an hour mark. At least when they're by themselves in a draft. Or at least single file in a draft, I should say. Maybe not so much down the front stretch, but back stretch, but on the front stretch, they're running close to that 200 mile an hour marker. Maybe next season I'm going to have to use kilometers for all my European fans. Or I guess for everybody outside of America. Battle for 2nd. Between Lumi and Bao, two drivers that have... Well, Lumi has had some success in the last few weeks, but not Bao. These three drivers battling for a chance for a 2025 season ride. With Lumi getting that win at the dirt race a couple weeks back, that's definitely going to help them, but they still got a ways to go. Side by side for the front, for the first 2 rows. Got 2 rows of that. A huge gap between a lot of these cars. Man, the top 10 have practically pulled away from everybody else in the field. I think that's kind of daunting in a way. That, like, you look at the intervals between everybody and it's like, damn. 2 seconds between 9th and 10th place, almost. Everybody's on top of each other inside the top 10, and then you get back to 11th, it's like, they're running their own. Bell's 22nd. He's gained up a few spots from the restart. Same with Merriweather and Starlight. And now it's Iron Mouse that sits back at 26. Just right now, a very, very questionable run right now for the 22. There's a lot of dangers right now for the 22. A lot of dangers right now for everybody in the top 5 in points except for Overdrive. Again, like I said, 5 people could walk away from today's race with the championship lead, and Overdrive can be one of them if things stay the way that they are right now at the end. Doki Bird in 3 getting battled by Soleil. Melody just behind them. Hado Mizuki's in the mix now as well. Hanging on to a 6th spot. Here comes DJ to the inside of Weebu. Can they cover up the gap? They can. So the 12 car will take the race lead. They are more than halfway through this race. Just a little bit. Fastest lap so far. About a 48.2 set by a couple drivers there. 85, Kilso, and the 36th all have set 48.2s. Everybody roughly around each other right there. 48.6 is the slowest time, set by Fifi. Overdrive getting a little bit of a challenge here by Doki Bird, although Doki Bird's going to not be able to have the momentum off the corner. Things have calmly gotten single file for the top 4 at the very least, but everybody's still tightly packed together. Still as nose to tail as before. Nobody could really pull away as the race leader, which is, I guess, the norm. If you are a DJ Overdrive or anybody inside this top 5 right at this moment, you do not want to caution. We've had 2 crashes already today, which is much more than the last couple of races. So already we've hit a quota that is... the last couple of races have been fairly clean with the exception of a handful of cautions. So far today we've hit 2 and we've just passed halfway. But if you're anybody inside this top 5, maybe top 6, you don't want to caution. You just want to have this gap stay where it's at and hopefully keep things to where they're at, to where all you have to do is just manage a solid pit stop and then run your tails off for the finish, because it'll be a points day if we don't get a caution for a lot of these drivers. Starlight ahead of Bell, so right now the 24 would gain a handful of spots, or a handful of points, not by much, but they still sit 26th, so Overdrive would have the championship lead coming out of today's race if he were to come to the checkered flag this time. But unfortunately, that's not the case. This is lap 71 we're working on, and we still have a little bit more to go. I don't know if Overdrive would have the championship lead if he finished second the way that things are running right now, but it would be pretty close. It would be single digits close. Fu and Bao almost got into it with each other. Fu was about to take Overdrive 3 wide through the middle because Overdrive was losing momentum, and Bao was not going to give them that room. And Overdrive right now is going to be trying their best to race the race of their life, because right now, the way things are settled, it's going to be a tight battle for the championship once again, but this time way more than 2 cars. Although, again, everybody with the exception of Overdrive is having a bad day. But like I said, I mean, there's still some long shots that could win this championship too. They're having what could be their best race of the season if it were to end as it is right now. But again, way too early to tell. That's why I'm saying a caution would definitely throw things upside down for these championship contenders, including long shots, because they don't want to see it. They just want to run with it. They want to run with what we got right now and just get into the pit stops and hope to God nothing bad happens. Soleil and Fu, once again, 1-2. I swear, these two have been 1-2 for a long time in this series. Every time I see Soleil up front, Fu is not too far behind. But you got to remember that Fu is better than everybody else strategically right now because he has the fresher tires. I don't know if he's raced them off. Maybe, not so much, but he's definitely got the fresher tires because he pitted about 10 laps after everybody else did. And he pitted after the caution came out too, which meant he was able to not only get a good spot track position-wise, but he was also able to restart close to everybody else so that he could gain more track position. That way he wouldn't have used up those tires. And now that's helped them as he's up to second. Now, obviously, he would like to do much better than Sonoma, actually make it to the checkered flag without running out of fuel and, you know, maybe win it this time instead of running out as the race leader. Weebu's also another one, too. They also had problems. I don't know if it was fuel problems. It might as well have been. for the 11. That took them out of the race at Sonoma with 2 laps to go. So the top 4 right now, even though not all of them finished well at Sonoma or in the last couple of weeks, they've been hanging on by threads and needles. And they have an opportunity once again to have another consistent finish, if all goes well. What Soleil really wants right now, I guess the same could be said for anybody inside this top 4. They would love to lead the most amount of laps. I think so far Melody has led the most amount of laps. It's a close toss-up between them and I think Overdrive. It could be either Overdrive or Weeboo or Melody that so far have the most laps led, but I think right now it's Melody. I don't know exactly by any means, but, you know, we'll figure it out once we get to the end of the race. Right now, Fu has pushed Soleil out to a almost second gap to third place. Practically the same lap times between the top 2. And I don't know if that's because Fu is not wanting to make the pass happen quickly. Because if they are quicker, then they could just push the person ahead of them so they can get a gap. So that way they can just settle it amongst themselves here in turns 3 and 4. Again, we got pit stops coming up here within 10 to 15 laps because these drivers can make it only about 40 to 45 on fuel, and they last pitted around that region. Now, I'm going to say that, but Fu's going to pit about 10 laps later than everybody else, so that might be why Fu is not trying super hard to make a pass happen, because he knows he's going to be able to just take the lead anyways here shortly soon. It is pretty single file. There is some packs here and there, but it's not as spread out as you think. There's some packs here and there, some spread out single car action, but then you just look at the back where Noriboshi was back in the 20s, and that's where you see a lot of the championship hopefuls running. It is a mixed bag at this moment. Pit stops are going to be more than interesting, I'll tell you that much. If everything goes cleanly, that is. Because Weeboo tried to take second away from Fu. They got a little bit of help from Overdrive until just now, as Overdrive moves up to the high side. That is going to allow Soleil to get a bit of a gap, but I don't think that gap's going to be for too long. There is some tire marks on the front stretch there. I don't think they're new, but there is no caution. So, I don't know if that was on the restart or on any of the laps after the restart, but somebody must have spun the tires somehow, some way. I mean, I could maybe guess it was Didi because they're running back at 35th, but they're already running 2 seconds off the pace. And there's our championship leader coming into today's race, way back in the 30s. And there's Starlight running 22nd. Let's take a look at exactly where everybody's running inside the top 10 in points real quick. First place in points is Bell. Coming into today, they sit 30th at the moment. Second place coming into today is Starlight. They sit 22nd at the moment. Iron Mouse, third in points, sitting only 29th, so not too far behind that. Talked about Overdrive already, sitting inside the top 5. Although that pack of cars that mounts all the way back to the end of the top 10, they're up here. It's still a top 10 at the moment. maybe top 5 for the 12 car. Merriweather sits back all the way back at the 26th spot. Those are the 5 drivers that could walk away with the championship lead today. Noriboshi actually not too far ahead, actually 1 spot ahead of Merriweather. Sitting in 6th place on the points coming into today. David is sitting at the 13th spot, running calmly behind this pack, behind this pack of 10 cars. But they sit 90 points back, as well as Soleil, who we saw was is the race leader still, with Weebu not too far behind them. Fruit's actually in 9th place in the points, and they sit back 28th. And rounding out the top 10 in the points championship heading into today's race is William, who currently sits in 19th place. And there's Soleil getting passed for the lead by Weebu. So once again, the 11 car goes back out front here on lap 81. Fifi's another one of those drivers that also pitted a little later than everybody else. It's actually running a whole lot faster than Fu. Maybe was saving up those extra tires. Because Fu, Kobo, Fifi, and Filian were the top 4 that all stopped relatively close to when the caution came out, if not exactly when the caution came out. They pitted literally exactly at the right time. So those 4 are the ones to watch. Although Kobo and Filian's back there behind these groups. They're in the background. But yeah, it's mainly Fifi and Fu out of that 4 pack that pitted later than everybody else. They will stay out once these drivers come into the pits here within the next couple laps. Because like I said, around lap 40... They were around like lap 45 when everybody really started coming into the pits. So we'll keep an eye on everybody going into lap 85 onwards. I mean, we'll keep an eye on the pit entries. Nobody up front this time. I doubt anybody's going to be coming in this pack. This is the main pack. Lap times have almost fallen off a full second, if not more than that, compared to the fastest lap for these drivers. And Fifi's up here despite not running fast laps at all. Their fastest is a 48.6, which is notably the slowest fastest lap out of everybody in this field. But it's not how quick you can hot lap, it's how much you can hot lap. The consistency is what matters here. Yeah, there's Filian. Actually, Filian's the first one to come down. Which is a little surprising. I thought yeah, whatever. There's a couple from the backpack that are pitting. Like, that's Henya. Henya and Nana, I think, is the other one that's coming in. So there's a few drivers that are pitting right now, but not up front. I thought Filian was one of them that would stay out longer, but I guess she was one that would. She was one that came in earlier than everybody else. I just assumed that she was going to follow that strategy of pitting later. See what happens this time by. Nobody from the first pack. That goes all the way back to Bimble in the 9. Ooh, a late entry. That's Starlight. Yeah, that is Starlight. That was a late call by the 24 to come into the pits. I was fearing we were going to see another Kason Springfield incident where they hit the pit wall. I feared for that for a second. That looked pretty close, but they managed to keep it Now, this is going to get interesting if these drivers are going to pit right now. They're going to have to sort this out. Good lord. Soleil's going to lose a couple spots here. Anybody from the front coming in? No. Have to keep an eye on these next 5 to 10 laps, because we're seeing a lot of like 1 to 2 driver packs coming in, which is not bad. That's actually pretty good, but that means that things are going to be a little bit more chaotic every couple laps as time runs on. Those tire marks at turn 4 right there, that's from the DM and Henya wreck that we saw. 2 drivers from the pit, or 2 drivers coming in this time. From the front, I think Soleil's one of them. It's hard to see from this angle. Soleil and Tyroki, 2 of them that are coming in. Bell and Dreamer were a couple that came in the last time. So far, still clean, though. There's a very tricky pit lane to commit to and get onto, so I don't know if we'll see anything happen coming into the pits, if drivers are going to commit when they shouldn't. Looks like Weebu's coming in this time. Fifi's staying out. I think I just heard something bad happen. Yep, caution's out. I heard something bad happen in the background. If you hear it just closely, you heard something happen, and I don't know where, but something did just happen. Let me hear it one more time. Yep, I think it was right back here. Oh, God, we got a car upside down. Oh, my Jesus Christ. We have a car upside down. It's Melody in the 36. Gets hooked by Gura way. Oh, my goodness. She was leading the most amount of laps in the first half of this race. And now under green flag pit stop conditions. Caution on the race course. Just as soon as several drivers were entering the pits, and just as soon as many were exiting the pits. Good lord. Another horrifying wreck. Melody end up stuck in the guardrail. And they will be done for the race. I mean, it was questionable for a lot of the drivers that were involved in a wreck earlier in this race. I think that's no question for the 36 and Melody. They are done. Dominant driver in the first half of this race. They're done for the event. All the while, we still have a ton of cars that still need to pit. There's tire marks. See the tire marks going into 4 right there. Good lord. So everybody's going to come in this time by that hasn't already came in. Not the best time in the world for a yellow flag to come out, especially for those that really didn't want to see one. A lot of drivers are lapped down, so they'll get the wave around here. We'll sort everything out once we get by with everything here. Fillion, DM, Bell, Starlight, Dreamer, Henya, and Nana, I do believe, are going to be a lap down, so they're going to get waved around. Iron Mouse was one of those unfortunate ones that will have to be in the back of the field because they did not pit before the caution came out. All these drivers are going to be in the back half of the field. So, Fifi, Overdrive, David, Simu, Fu, Iron Mouse, William, drivers that really should have been up at the front of the field for what will be a 40 lap, a little less than that, run to the finish, they're going to be in the back. They're going to be in the back. That's going to leave Weeboo, who pitted just exactly at the right time, out front once again. Bao in second. Third would be Lumi. Fourth would be Mizuki. Fifth, Kason. Sixth is Doki Bird. Seventh is Bimble. Sprite in eighth, and Tyroki in ninth. And rounding out the top 10 will be Soleil. So those top 10 right there pitted when they needed to, and they stay out, which is a good thing. The ones that stayed out when the caution came out, they're going to be in the back half of the field. We'll go through the rest here once they get all sorted out. May not be all doom and gloom for many of these drivers, but for DJ Overdrive, they are going to be probably 15th or worst. I'm not too sure at the moment, but they are not going to be sitting well right now with under 40 laps to go. They're going to have to make up a lot of spots, and they can, but it's going to be a lot more questionable now than with Fu and Fifi. Let them cross the line. We'll get a more official listing here for the leaderboard coming into 91, which would be 92 to go, or 92 laps complete, as we are 1 to green. So again, Weeboo, Bao, Lumi, Kason, and Doki Bird the top 5. Bimble, Sprite, Tyroki, and Soleil. Actually, now Lumen, now the top 10. I mean, they're not too far back. You got Fifi in 11th, DJ Overdrive in 12th. Not too bad. David in 13th, Fu in 14th, and 15th is Simu. William in 16th, 17th is Watson, 18th is Gura, 19th is Iron Mouse, and rounding out the top 20 is Kiyoso. Meriwether 21st, 22nd is Fruit, 23rd is Lucky, 24th is Risu, 25th would be Cali, and the rest of the field on back. We got Bell in 30th and Starlight 31st. That's how they run at the moment. Still going to be a massive points day for those inside the top 5, with the exception of the top 2. So basically, third on back. I should have just said that. That would have been a lot more easier, wouldn't it? How the turns have tabled here in this race. Once again, we have double filed them back up, and a little less than 40 laps to go here. I don't know if we'll be done with the wrecks, especially now knowing that they can make it, but it's going to be very tight. A lot of these drivers are going to be very tight once again on fuel, but maybe not as tight as last week at Sonoma. The pace car is back in the pits, and now Weeboo and Bao will lead the rest of the field to the green flag. We're going to see how aggressive these drivers are going to be, especially the ones that were up front before the green flag cycle started. Bao's going to be the one that gets the jump ahead of Weeboo going into turn 1. Once again, that inside line, not necessarily the lane to be in for the restart. I don't normally use my keyboard to use the cameras anymore. I used to, but then I realized the clicking sounds got really annoying. Single file inside the top 3. New tires, we're going to reach speeds around 190 to 200 miles an hour here on the end of these straights. At least for the next couple laps. Soleil, who we saw enter in the pits, and same with Overdrive, they got the luck of the inside line. That's the good news about this, is that they got that inside line. Because now both of them are back inside the top 5, maybe top 10 at least. Soleil is actually going to look hard to the inside. Almost made it 3 wide with Lumi and Bao and Sprite. Actually, Soleil, who I thought was basically done for, is actually back up to 3rd. Same could be said with Overdrive, who creeps back into the top 5. So a solid run on the restart by those two drivers looking to creep their way back into the championship hunt, and for Overdrive to take away the championship lead, as Fu is struggling with the 22 of Iron Mouse just right underneath them. So looks like whatever Fu did on the restart, or for the pit stops, that adjustment was not necessarily the right adjustment. They were one of them that was definitely up there in the top 5 once the pit stop started. And then all of a sudden, they have just fallen back and they have not been able to get back to that inside line. Soleil back to second. Caution's out again, so we'll have another restart. It looks like they're still wrecking from what I'm hearing. Oh, this is big trouble in the front stretch. Oh, this just happened. I missed it. Where is this at? Is this... Uh-oh. I see a number 6 and 60 getting hooked together. This doesn't look too good. Merriweather gets turned by the... Oh, no. This is going to take out... This is going to take out Iron Mouse. Oh, that's going to take out Iron Mouse, who's upside down and over here in turn 1. And barrel rolling through turns 1 and 2. Up and over. And that might be championship over for the 22 machine. They're done. They're done. They just flipped halfway across the whole turn 1. Merriweather's also damaged up. Not badly compared to Iron Mouse, but yeah. Iron Mouse got the worst end out of that. Third place in the championship points has flipped out here at Indianapolis. Lap 95. Oh my God. The absolute worst case scenario for Iron Mouse has just taken place. What started as just Lucky hooking the 60 down into the pit wall on the inside line. Merriweather then bounces up into the 22. And then just absolute destruction. And that might be championship over for Iron Mouse unless Bell and Starlight do not have a good finish today. The worst Iron Mouse can finish, or the worst that Iron Mouse could be in the championship points is 5th place. They're going to be 5th place in the points more than likely heading out of today's race. Unbelievable. Unreal. Unreal. They'll finish 36, maybe 35th if Henya retires. Because Henya also had a lot of front end damage. Still does. That 30 car is destroyed. I think them and Iron Mouse got the worst out of it. What was just supposed to be an incident between Lucky and Merriweather. It turned sour for Iron Mouse. Merriweather's coming down as well as Bell and Starlight, so the top 2 in the championship looking to probably play a little bit of strategy games right now. But there you see the remnants of 3rd place in the points coming into today's race. They were needing something special to happen today, and I don't think that's what they wanted. I genuinely don't think that's what they wanted to see. 1 to go here. We'll restart on lap 97. It'll be Weebu ahead of Soleil. 3rd place will be Lumi and Overdrive in 4th. 5th place will be K-Sod. 6th place in Fifi. 7th place goes to David. Lumen in 8th. Simu in 9th place. Hello, Henya. 10th place is Gura. 11th place is Bimble. 12th place is Bao. 13th place is Sprite. Watson in 14th, Tyroki in 15th, Doki Bird in 16th, Fruit 17th, Kyoso in 18th, the 19th is Noriboshi, Rounding out the top 20 is Cali. The rest of the field on back. Bell will restart 31st or so. Starlight 34th or so. As when we get this restart here, we're winding down the laps as well as we're winding down the amount of cars. Interestingly, the odd numbers are going to start on the outside line this time. That's interesting. Okay. I mean, for Weeboo, that's best case scenario because that inside line has not been able to get a restart whatsoever. So the outside line is the preferred line on these restarts. But I'm a little shocked that they were able to smartly decide, hey, let's go to the outside line. All right. Normally the odds are on the bottom. But I guess this time it's flip-flopped. Sure thing, I guess. 96 laps in the books and we get this restart here. Green flag's underway. Good restart by Weeboo, but it's not going to be enough. Here comes Soleil once again back to the race lead. And everybody's good to go to the end here, so if they can get everything all spread... Oh my goodness! Contact, Lumen, Kason, and Gura. Well, that'll separate the field. They didn't wreck, but they did hit each other and smash the wall. That separates the field a little bit. We almost just had a half a lap crash. Wow, I'm speechless right there. I don't even know what I'm saying. Overdrive takes back the race lead. This could be the opportunity for this 12 car. Take away the championship lead coming out of today's race. I remember Bell and Starlight, they did pit under that last caution. So they're still back in the 30s. Although a couple more restarts, or maybe even this restart, they can make something happen. This driver's still moving up the racetrack far and wide. They battle for 30th. Henya's still out there, trucking along without a hood. I wonder who drives the third. Never mind. That was supposed to be a joke. Since everybody's P&Gs are on the hood. Side by side for second. Now looks like David's going to be able, for the first time today, David's actually up inside the top 5. Looking for a second spot at the moment, being pushed by the 90 Sprite. Soleil and Weeboo, the top 2, when they restarted, they fell back outside the top 5, but still inside the top 10. So still, and also Soleil back to the inside line, the preferred line, so they'll be able to get back inside the top 5 momentarily. Because they just passed Fifi for that spot. Oh, big wreck in the back! Oh my goodness! The 9 car up and over, and they're still piling up as the 24 is involved. More cars involved in this one. The big one at Indianapolis. Good Lord. That took out another championship contender, or at least got them involved. Oh my goodness, the wreck's still happening today. Our 5th caution of today. And Foo's day just got worse. Went from bad to worse for the 17. Oh my god. I thought that Iron Mouse wreck was going to be the biggest wreck of the day. I am mistaken. Holy moly. This started back where Bimble was. Oh my god. So Callie and Watson are with Bimble 3 wide. And then they just get into each other. And then it's just BAM! Oh my god. And then it just doesn't stop. Everybody's just piling into it. Nowhere for the 24 to go, albeit they don't come out of it with a lot of damage. Oh, the 9's actually going to go up and over. So we have another car on its roof in this race. What a mess. Callie, Dreamer, Risu, DM, Kobo, Filian, DD as well involved. Just a mess back here for... Oh my god. Williams going to get by it, and so is Bell and Noriboshi. Those three are going to get by it with minimal damage. Oh my god. I didn't realize we were going to have this many wrecks today. I am sorry for jinxing the hell out of it. I want to look at Williams here because William has a good onboard of this wreck. Oh my god, there's sheet metal flying everywhere. Let's just replay a Williams, see how he gets through this wreck right here. Oh my god. That was terrifying. You just see the chaos that's going on the back. The back of Fruit's car. My goodness. A full-on damage report here. Merriweather, another championship contender with severe front-end damage. Food torn up. Starlight doesn't have much damage. If anything, it's just mostly cosmetic. So second place in the points survives yet another dangerous wreck in front of them. Bimble, who went up and over, still trucking along with a lot of damage, but not as much. Callie with a lot of rear-end damage and side damage. Rear-end damage for DM and as well as side damage. I think Risu just mostly spun out. Does have some right side damage, but still good. Dreamer all over. Car has damage. It's damaged all over. Left side, right side, front side, and the rear end all bent up. So does Kobo. My goodness. What a wreck. That was Talladega levels of chaos right there. And that's our 5th of the day for cautions. Holy moly. We have less than 30 laps to go, so I don't think we're done wrecking. Wow. We keep taking out more cars, then Bell and Starlight are going to have themselves the points day that the rest of the top 5 was praying for. Currently, Bell is sitting in the inside the top 20. They were struggling all race long to even sniff inside the top 20. And because of that big wreck, they are now inside of it. Starlight's not going into the pits. They're trucking along with the damage they have. They're sitting third. They're sitting just inside the top 25 at the moment. Oh my god. With how things are set right now, it'll be Overdrive and David, who will share row 1 on this restart. Third place will be Sprite. Hello, Henya, again. Fourth place will be Soleil. Fifth place will be Gura. Sixth place, Lumen. Fifi in 7th. Simu in 8th. Lumi in 9th. And Weebu rounds out the top 10. Bao in 11th. Kason in 12th. 13th is Dokibird. 14th is Tyroki, excuse me. William, who made it through that wreck somehow, some way. 15th, Nana. 16th. 17th is Kyoso. 18th is Noriboshi. 19th is Bell, the championship leader heading into today's race. And Fruit rounds out the top 20. And the rest of field on back. Starlight back in 23rd. Merriweather gets most of that damage repaired on back. No rear end for Bimble, DM. Fu got most, if not all, that damage repaired. It's going to be a long day for those drivers that just got involved in that wreck. Oh my goodness. Wow. Oh my god. I'm just mostly amazed how many cautions we've had here today. I know it's a lot longer of a race, but 5 cautions when the last couple of races have combined for 5 cautions. It's a little insane. It's a little insane. It's starting to become a war of attrition. I don't know if we're done wrecking here, because if that happened with a handful of laps into a restart, the way that we're still keeping things double filed up, I can only imagine that it's only going to get crazier now that we're under 30 laps to go here in this race. But the more cautions that pass by, the more of a chance Overdrive has at leading the most amount of laps. Albeit, I think that's already been locked up by a driver already, although I'm not able to tell at this moment. So we get this one to go here. We're going to have 28 to go this time by. And for DJ Overdrive, they are the only driver inside the top 5 in points to not have a bad day whatsoever. And I know I'm probably going to automatically jinx him, and I'm sorry in advance if I do. They have stayed out of trouble all race long, and they have been up front all race long. I'm trying not to jinx it. I'm trying to be realistic here. The way that this race has been and the way that this series has been, I expect this 12 car to be in the back half of the top 10, if not the back half of the top 20, by the end of this race, just because I unfortunately think this is going to be one of those days where everybody inside the top 5 in points doesn't want to come out of this race with the championship lead. No one wants to lead the championship. We've already kind of established that. Bell's been sitting in the back half of this race all day long. Starlight just got involved in their second wreck of the day, albeit, again, bumps and bruises, nothing spectacularly bad. Merriweather got involved in a wreck, and Ironmouth flipped out of the race because of Merriweather. So Overdrive's the only one inside the top 5 in points coming into today's race that has not had any sort of problems whatsoever, other than the fact that they just can't stay in the lead for long periods of time. But they're going to be leading the inside line to the restart here, so they have a chance, if they can hang on for 28 more laps, to escape Indianapolis with, at the very least, a third place in the championship points, which will set them up greatly for Rockingham next week. But before we get to that, we have 28 more laps here at Indianapolis. David with a good restart. If he can clear, he's not going to be able to. So keep an eye on Overdrive. He will probably be able to clear David going into turn 2 here. He doesn't slide up too much to allow Sprite and Gura into the picture. Still tight for the race lead. I think Sprite's going to be able to hang on to the inside line. It's Gura for the first time today as well, going to come up to the front of this field here. Last couple of races have not been so well in terms of how the race has treated that one car. Top 5 right now for Gura, so that's a good position for them. Overdrive still leads lap 103, but can they lead a couple more? Right now it's going to be Sprite who takes away that lead. They are way out of championship contention. Again, it comes back down to the fact that there's nobody inside the top 10 in the points that wants to win a race anymore. So there's that. Sprite with a big lead at the moment. Here comes Simu in the 99, who actually is looking for their first win of the season. I could have sworn they won at some point. I thought they won Atlanta, but then I checked back and that was Weebu in the 11. They almost won at Springfield. They were one lap away from winning at that track, but they ended up not having the run that they needed to take away that first place spot. Dreamer's coming off the pits, by the way. Just saw them. They are now one lap down. Terrible day for Dreamer. They just weren't running good at all. And today just kind of isn't going to get much better. Sprite hanging, or not Sprite, Starlight hanging on to 22nd. All the damaged cars are mendling back. They're coming up on Risu, who is, I think, just coming off the pits. I think just came off the pits, but they are slow. I didn't think they would be slow, but they definitely aren't. They aren't doing so well at the moment. I was talking about how they are one of the long shots coming into today's race, but I think now it pretty much solidifies that they are done for this season, championship racing wise. If they can hang on to a solid top 10 championship finish, though, they'll be able to run for the championship next season. Because I do predict that we're going to have at least 10 cars battling for 2025. Automatically. And it's going to be like a very minimal amount of drivers that can sign up for next season. This is the way that I kind of want it. I kind of want to see some familiar faces here every season. So we'll get to see some familiar faces next season. At least 10 of them. I say at least 10, but that's my prediction. It could be as little as 5. You never know. The way that everybody's been running so far and inside the top 5 of the championship, nobody wants to be the champion at this point, despite after today only having 2 races left to determine that. So right now the top 3 is Sprite, Simu, and Fifi. 4th place is Gura. 5th place is Bao. Soleil has fallen to 8th place. Overdrive in 9th place. And Weebu just back outside the top 5. So the drivers that are up front at the end of the race are drivers mostly that weren't up in front for a majority of this race, thanks to pit stops and cautions. 5 of them at this moment. Right now, single file for the top 3. They are all practically nose to tail. That about 2 to 3, maybe 4 car lengths of a gap. They got Gura, who has side damage from, I guess, overdriving the exit. Which I guess explains the gap between 3rd and 4th. Race is far from done, though. Still 22 to go. A little more than that. So we've seen a lot happen in the span of those 22 laps. Right now, these drivers are setting some pretty fast lap times. Not the fastest, but 48, almost 49-second lap times. Bell's climbed up to 14th, so whatever they decided to do under their last stop or two, they have found a way to avoid all the massacres and all the wrecks. They're climbing up inside the top 10. They're climbing up inside the top 15, but they're getting close. Top 10. There's Risu. Yeah, Risu is not as quick as I thought. That might actually help everybody from 4th on back. Because if Risu is as slow as I think, that'll be a dangerous situation for this top 3 to deal with. Could be used as a pick. Yeah, Risu isn't as quick as I thought. They weren't doing good to begin with today. They were mired back in the 30s, and I don't think that wreck helped them at all. Simu's gonna take a look to the inside. That's gonna put him up to the race lead for the first time today. Bao's gonna actually pass Sprite for that 3rd spot. It's going to depend on where they can catch Risu. Risu looks to go high. Only for the moment. Because right now, going to hold up the top 2. Risu's going to try and race. Keep on the lead lap. They're the first car 1 lap down. Not the only car. They're battling Dreamer for that spot. If caution were to come out, one of those 2 would get the lucky dog. Because of what Risu is doing, Fifi was trying to make a pass on that high side and almost actually made it work. Under 20 to go. Now Sim is going to be able to move the 2 car to the high side. Maybe not. I think the 2 car Risu is slow because they had nobody to draft with. I think maybe the damage is significant enough to where they are much more of a drafty car than before. And if they aren't in a draft, they aren't going to be able to hang on. But like I predicted, that has brought up a lot more cars into this pack. Now Reese is being put on the high side, which means that everybody that's on the inside line is going to get the benefit from it. Everybody that's with the two is going to get the opposite effect. Bell's up in the picture now in the foreground. Or I guess not foreground, the background. Here comes Sprite back to the inside. Not going to be able to make the pass happen now. Soleil up to 4th. They're going to be the ones to benefit the most from the lap car. Tyroki as well, up to 5th. Nose to tail, top 3. Here comes Sprite back to the inside. If cover up the gap, they do. They're going to clear off of 1. That is going to help bring Soleil back to 2nd. Assuming that Soleil is able to hang on. Off of 2 down the back. It does so. Last time by, Bell clocked in the 14th place. Just a little behind Overdrive. And right now, Overdrive, I would assume, is the first... I would say Overdrive is no longer going to be the first car inside the top 5 in the points. Rather, it's going to be the championship leader. Soleil has been up and down this entire day. They were 15th at one point on a restart. Thanks to them not being able to get a good good strategy for pit strategy. But they climbed up quickly. And despite a couple extra restarts that have thrown them to the back, they have managed to find themselves back in 2nd place. Going for the lead here with almost 15 to go. So Soleil is not the greatest when it comes to restarting, but they're able to get back up front of the field with a couple laps under their belts. Now the question is whether or not they're going to be able to hang on to it with 16 laps to go. There's still a ton of time left and a ton of cars battling for these positions. Sprite, Soleil, Simu, Tyroki, Weebu, Noriboshi, Dogibird, David, and Bell, as well as Gura and Fifi. They are controlling their own destinies right now at this point. Everybody else just struggling. Starlight back to 20th, struggling around a bunch of slow and damaged race cars. Bell, on the other hand, doesn't have that. Starlight can't really make anything happen because, again, they're surrounded by cars that aren't at 100%. And Bell is at 100%, surrounded by cars that are also 100%. You gotta realize, too, Starlight did get involved in that last wreck, that big one on the backstretch. Granted, it wasn't much damage, but again, because of that, they got thrown back, surrounded by other cars that were involved in that wreck. So, that's the difference maker right there. Soleil is going to be trying their best here with under 15 to go to try to go 2 in a row here late in the season, which again would be a good opportunity for them if they really want to be in contention for the championship. But with Bell now running in 8th place, I don't see the long shots getting more of an opportunity for the championship, but rather just an opportunity to maybe stick inside the top 10 in points, maybe 5th. Again, I don't think the long shots can win the championship, especially with how Bell's been turning it up here with the last couple laps. The best I believe these drivers can do for the championship will probably be a top 5. Top 3, maybe. I mean, we saw Iron Mouse flip out of the race. We saw Overdrive, who now falls back, has fallen back to God knows where, actually 12th place. And Merriweather getting manhandled twice in wrecks. So the story for the top 5 in points, I mean, the only one that has nothing under their belts, I guess the only 2 is both Overdrive and Bell. And now Bell's going to try and finish today with a top 5 finish, which that's actually pretty solid. I was kind of shit-talking them earlier in the race talking about how they have not been finishing well and they haven't been finishing like a champion. They're proving me wrong. They are proving me wrong right now. Melanie Bell now up to 4th place. 3rd place, Weebu. 2nd, Simu. But 1st place is once again Soleil. With under 12, with almost, I should say, 12 laps to go. And it's single filed out, so right now, the best position to be is inside this top 5. Maybe top 10. Right now, it is a 5-car single file pack. So if you are in this top 5 group, then you are necessarily in your best spot right now. Oh, contact between Simu and Weebu. That's going to put Weebu up to 2nd, but that's going to give Soleil a chance to at least get a bit of a gap, but I don't think that's going to be a long gap. That did check up the back half of that pack, and now Bell falls back. Maybe saw what happened there between Weebu and Simu and just decided that today's just going to be a day that they want to finish solidly and not attempt to finish up in front with a chance to wreck out of the race with 10 laps to go. Because listen, a wreck could happen at any point, and if it includes Bell and they wreck out, that might be championship over. They have to be perfect to hang on to this championship. Because if they ain't perfect, they're going to have to wish upon a star that something bad happens to whoever is in 2nd place at the time. Top 3 right now is Soleil, Weebu, and Donkey Bird. A little bit of a gap to 4th and 5th of Simu and Sprite. Noriboshi in 6th, and Overdrive takes over the top spot for the championship 5. 7th place. 8th place is Mizuki. 9th place is Bao. Gura in 10th. Bell falls all the way back to the 12th spot. 10 laps to go here at Indianapolis. Soleil, Weebu, and Donkey Bird, Simu, and Sprite. 5 drivers, all with a shot to win this race, unless a caution comes out. Weebu's going to peek to that inside. Down the backstretch. Comes back up. Single file. You want to make your move somewhere. But when? Turn 3 is a good opportunity, don't get me wrong, but you don't want to do it too early to where the driver behind could make a move back. Right now, I do believe Soleil is not in the best spot right now. Leading this race, sure, with 9 laps to go, it is a good feat right now. But the lead has changed hands quite a bit within the last couple of laps, and here it comes, Weebu and Donkey Bird to the inside. I think right now the best fit is to just kind of lay back and wait until about a few laps to go, maybe even the white flag, to try and make a pass happen. Soleil is going to fall back to 5th. But unless Soleil loses his pack, still has an opportunity to win this race. Donkey Bird to the inside, not going to be able to cover up, or Weebu able to cover up the gap, so Donkey Bird can't make the pass. Because of that, Weebu is going to stretch it out to a half a car length between them and Donkey Bird. Once again, Weebu in another opportunity to win a race. Similar to last week at Sonoma, thanks to pit strategy. The unfortunate thing about that pit strategy call means that they ran out of fuel or had fuel issues, one of the two, with 2 laps to go. Donkey Bird, a driver that has not had any sort of success ever since taking over the 3-car from you-know-who. They have not had much success, but they've been up front. This is their best opportunity so far to getting a win. Simu, looking for their first win of the season. They haven't had much success in the mid part of the season, but a couple weeks back, they finished inside the top 5, almost won at the dirt race at Springfield. And right now, they sit up in 2nd, but they got to chase back down that 11 car who pulls out to a huge gap in front of them. Sprite, another driver we've talked about before, they've won in the past, but ever since winning at the Rainbow Road a long time ago, it's been a while since we've seen this 90 car up front. The opposite could be said for the number 420 of Soleil. Just last week, got their first win of the season, looking for 2 for 2. That's how the top 5 runs, but since they are battling each other, it's now Weebu who pulls out to a big gap, but more importantly, Overdrive and Noriboshi and the rest of the top 10, they're catching. Soleil moves up to 3rd. Right now, the hearts are beating fast for everybody inside this top 5. Their chances of going to victory lane are slowly going up in smoke as Sprite's fallen back, as Overdrive has started to overtake some of these drivers inside the top 5. Here comes Simu down to the inside for the race lead. He's going to take it going into turn 1. And now Soleil with an opportunity to take away that 2nd spot. A lot of these drivers inside the top 10, not necessarily battling for the championship anymore, with the exception of DJ Overdrive, who sits in 4th place at the moment, 5th place actually, looking for 4th. If Overdrive can have a solid day today, they'll sit 3rd in the points with a better opportunity than the rest of the top 5 in points. At least the top 5 today, coming into today. But everybody else practically eliminated from the championship hunt. 3 wide for that 2nd spot behind. If you think the aggression's not picking up, look no further than right here for 2nd. Soleil in the worst possible spot for this run. Top of 3 contact with the 3 and the 12. They keep it steady. But Soleil's going to fall back many, many spots. Here comes Gura, who's going to chop the nose off Donkey Bird. Oh, and there goes Tyroki way down low. Wrecked. Upside down goes to 41. Front of the rest of the pack. More damage. Big damage. Nana, Watson, Merriweather, Fillion, Fruits. A bigger pile up here with 4 laps to go. Coming to the caution flag. There will be one final restart with maybe 1 or 2 laps left. Another horrifying wreck has befuddled this backstretch of Indianapolis. And it all started with Kyoso getting underneath Tyroki here in turn 1 and just hooks him. Bam! Kyoso escaped scot-free. He didn't hit anything, but Tyroki, the 3rd driver to go upside down in this race. And then just watch as Fruit tries to avoid it. Boom! And then bam! Starlight avoids that one, so that's more positions for the 24. Nana gets involved. But unfortunate for Merriweather, that's his 3rd wreck of the race. And that one's more catastrophic than the last 2. He'll be done for the day, if he hasn't yet already been done for the day. 5th place coming into today, more than likely gonna be 5th place coming out. It ain't gonna be much better it ain't gonna be much of anything for Merriweather. I hate to see that for him, but 3 wrecks for Merriweather today. And this one right here is the final blow for them. That's gutting. That is gutting. You're 5th place in the points. You're half a race behind. All you have to do is just finish well compared to the rest of the field. Not even well enough to take away the championship lead. You could do that at Rockingham, or you could do that at Las Vegas, assuming you had a good finish there too. And then just right now, yeah, it's gonna have to be basically a win for Merriweather. It's going to have to be a win next week for Merriweather if they want to be in the championship hunt going into Vegas a week after that. Just an absolutely crushing blow. Once again, they thought they were going to be able to salvage something after that big one. After getting involved in that big one, which they were trying to salvage something from accidentally taking out Iron Mouse of all. people, but man, again, just no luck whatsoever for Merriweather whatsoever. But we're going to keep an eye on this pace car. If we get 1 to green this or next time by, it'll be a 1 or 2 lap shootout for the finish. And if you thought it was already chaotic with a handful of laps to go, things are going to get more chaotic now that we have only 2 laps to go when we get this green flag run going. It'll be between Simu, DJ Overdrive, Gura, Sprite, Dokibird, Hanamizuki, Soleil, Weebu, Fifi, and Bao, the top 10. But keep an eye on Bell, who sits in 11th, who is going to try their hardest to at least get a top 10, if not top 5 finish. David in 12th, Noriboshi in 13th, William in 14th, and 15th is Kyoso. 16th is, let me go back. Lumi, 17th is Starlight, 18th is Fu, 19th is Lumen, and Nana rounds out the top 20. Hold your breath, folks, because this is going to get nuts. I could probably have said that Simu had the race in the bag because of the gap that he had to second place. At the very least, it would have been down to 3 cars, maybe 4. It's going to be chaotic, to say the least. If you thought it was chaotic already, it's going to get more because we got drivers that are going to be battling for a championship spot. We got the 12 car battling for a championship spot, and while the 69 car is the championship leader, they're going to be trying to salvage something out of this in hopes that they can finish a lot higher up than the 24 and the 12, if possible. The main thing here is, can DJ Overdrive get to the bottom into turn 1? If they cannot, they're going to lose a lot more than what... They're going to lose a lot of spots. That outside line needs to clear to the inside as soon as they can. If not, trouble's going to ensue. Watch that inside line here as 2 laps remain here at Indianapolis. Perfect restart there by Overdrive. Next to clears the 99, but can they get to the inside? No, they cannot. Simu to the inside of Overdrive will take the race lead away, and now Overdrive's going to lose a few spots here with a couple laps to go. And now it's down between Simu, Gura, and Dokibird, top 3 on the inside. It's side by side for the 4th spot, and now that's Soleil who climbs up to 4th. Overdrive back to 5th. He finally is able to clear to the bottom. Well, not for long, because there goes Sprite. Here comes Soleil for 3rd. Never mind. It's single file through the top 4. Simu has to hang on for basically a lap and a half. Off of turn 4 for the next to final time. Single file for the top 4. Dokibird looks low for 2nd. White flag in the air here at Indianapolis. Side by side for 2nd place. Dokibird going to slingshot it in. And clears, just handily clears the 1 car of Gura. But a little bit of a gap here built between the top 2. Now the backstretch for the final time. Soleil up to 3rd. Bell climbs to 6th place. Almost at 5th, but it's 6th place right now for Bell. They are the best out of the top 5 of the championship. Here comes Dokibird in turn 3 for 1 final shot. Soleil up to 3rd. Can they say something about it? First place for Soleil last week. It might not be the win, but it's still a top 3 right now at the moment. Off of turn 4. First time winner last week. It'll be a first time winner this week. Down the front stretch, Simu wins it at Indianapolis. His first win of the season. And it comes never too late. Dokibird with their best finish of the season. A 10th and a half behind. Soleil, 2 good weeks in a row. 3rd place. And Gura and Sprite round out that top 5. Bell, 5th place. Overdrive, 11th. And Starlight in 16th. Those 3 drivers, those last 3 drivers I just mentioned, I do believe they will be the top 3 in the points. I don't know in what order yet. We'll find out here momentarily. What a win for Simu. His first of the season. He deserved that. He fought hard many times throughout this season for a win, and he finally gets it here at Indianapolis. A crown jewel event, by the way. If we were to take into account that a couple of these races could be considered crown jewels. And this is one of them. You win at Indianapolis, it's a pretty big milestone for you. And Simu's going to be the first out of the VTubers to call themselves winners here at the Brickyard. What a race. And what a finish. A good green-white checkered, if you will. A good green-white checkered. Give me 1 second here, and I'll have everything lined up for post-race. Really wish I had that a little sooner rather than later, but here we go. So, after the 28th race of the season has concluded, here is our final results for today. Simu takes the checkered flag first, leading only 8 laps, but most importantly, the final 2. By a 10.5 over Doki Bird and Soleil, not too far behind them. Then it's Gura, Sprite, Bell in 6th, Noriboshi in 7th, Beefy in 8th, Kyoso with a nice finish in 9th place. And William rounds out the top 10. And a lot of these drivers led a lap, at least. William led 1, Kyoso led 2, Fifi led 5. Points all across the board for everybody except for the points leader coming into today's race, which was Bell. We see DJ Overdrive, another championship contender. They finished at 11th spot. Bao in 12th, Mizuki in 13th. Weebu leads the most amount of laps with 25, but still finishes in 14th. David led 1, finishes in 15th, and Starlight 16th place finish. Fu survives after all the melee and carnage that happened to him in that car, and it's still somehow managed to get a 17th place finish out of all of that. I think the most surprising thing out of all of this in terms of the finishing results, you'll see it here. Look who will finish in 22nd place. A hoodless Henya survives and somehow manages to finish in 22nd position. Just saying, just because you get involved in a few wrecks, just try and gut it out. It may be a war of attrition here within the final stages of an event. You never know. But the rest of the results here are scrolling slowly on the screen. A couple drivers leading a few laps and then falling back late in the run. Risu, who started in 3rd place and led 2 laps, unfortunately will finish out today in 27th after just unfortunately not having the day that they would like to have. Run through the final results here. The final part of the results, 31 drivers finished the race. Everybody from Merriweather, 32nd on back, finishes the race out of the event. Retired at least 4 laps early from the full-length run. Merriweather, Tyroki, Fruit, Watson, Iron Mouse, and Melody. Everybody of those drivers out of the race early on in the event. So that's the results after 6 cautions and 41 lead changes. Now, more importantly, what are the championship results looking like? Well, surprise, surprise, Bell has increased their championship gap by half a race over Starlight. And Overdrive has now put themselves in an opportunity to win the championship if the race were to end, the championship were to end next week. But that's it. It's just 3 cars right now under a race. Iron Mouse and Merriweather, with their abysmal finishes here today, sit more than a race back. They are going to have to rely on Bell having a terrible finish. Not so much Starlight, although that would be a bonus. Right now, Merriweather is only 33 points back from Starlight, which is not necessarily a full race, but close to it. At this point, right now, it's only 3 drivers battling for the championship, and it goes between Bell, Starlight, and Overdrive. Everybody underneath Iron Mouse and Merriweather practically eliminated. I mean, officially eliminated from the championship. Noriboshi, Soleil, William, David, and Fifi, the rest of the top 10, they fought their tails off in the final last couple of races here. But unfortunately for them and everybody else down below, they're not battling for the championship anymore. They're going to be battling for a spot in the 2025 season, which could be another thing that they could easily accomplish. So, unfortunately for Noriboshi and the rest of the gang on back, they are officially eliminated from the championship. It still could be a 5-person battle for the championship. However, again, Iron Mouse and Merryweather are now considered long shots for the championship hunt. It all depends on, once again, how next week's race at Rockingham ends up. If Belle has a good performance, or even Starlight has a good performance, it could be game over for 4th and 5th in the championship. If Iron Mouse or Merryweather or even Overdrive, if anybody is more than 40 points behind the championship leader at the conclusion of next week's race, they are eliminated from the championship. It is exactly, and I mean exactly 40 points. Not 41, not 42, or 39, 38. Exactly 40. If anybody is exactly 40 points behind the championship leader, they are eliminated from the championship, officially. Because let's be real, even if it was 41 because of that extra point for leading the most amount of laps, again, with how the season has been, I doubt the most dominant driver is also going to win the race. Especially at Rockingham and Las Vegas. I don't think it's going to come down to 41 points, but basically 40 points officially eliminates you from the championship at the end of next week. Anything more than 80 points eliminates you from right now, and that's where Noriboshi is at, and the rest of the field from 6 on back. So, like I said, it's down to 5 cars battling for the championship, heading into the final 2 races of the season, which is both Rockingham, North Carolina, and Las Vegas. So that's where things shake up here at the conclusion of this race here at Indianapolis. We will be back next week to maybe conclude this season even quicker. Race 29 at Rockingham will be a doozy. Basically a must-watch for anybody wondering what the championship is going to be like. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Take care. Have a good one.